Hi, everybody. Welcome to this new installment of the Ultimate Schmoedown Aftershow. We are here to have a difficult but necessary discussion about recent events in the movie trivia Schmoedown community. Um, First of all, I wanted to say Boggs could not be here today for this. He had a previous engagement that he was not able to get away from, and so he regrets not being able to be here. But I'm going to be kind of opening things up here today, and then I'll let John and Soul take the reins, just to kind of make a an open statement to everybody. I will go ahead and just let everybody know we're not going to be like bringing anyone on as we've done in the past for questions and comments. If you do feel you have something you'd like to add to the conversation, the Streamlabs are open. We're certainly not going to sit here and tell people they have to, send money or anything. By all means, you're welcome to have a discussion in the chat. We're not going to be pulling a lot of comments and stuff today. We're mostly just here to have a conversation amongst ourselves and read off a statement that was provided to us by a member of the community as well. But for the most part, we're going to be keeping this pretty self-contained, straightforward, and to the point. So thank you to those of you who have chosen to join us today. And with that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and get this out the way and read the statement for everyone, and we'll proceed from there. So if you just bear with me here. As some of you may know, and for those of you who may not, a situation has been brought to the attention of the movie trivia Schmoedown community that we feel bears addressing. What we know is as follows. A member of the Schmoedown community released a statement detailing an intimate relationship with Ben Goddard. The statement alleged that the relationship developed over time and that private photos were shared at the behest of Ben Goddard. The statement also alleged that Ben Goddard wished to keep this relationship secret in an attempt at infidelity, and that the aforementioned photos were discovered to have been shared with others. Ben Goddard has issued a response to this initial statement, confirming the relationship, but denying any wrongdoing, claiming that his intentions and actions were misinterpreted. Since then, multiple others have come forward making similar allegations against Ben Goddard, but he has not commented on these subsequent allegations. The movie trivia Schmoedown has made two public statements on the matter. One statement condemning the alleged behavior and stating that Ben Goddard would no longer be a member of the movie trivia Schmoedown, and a second statement offering assurances that the movie trivia Schmoedown and Skybound are committed to the safety and well-being of all members of the community. Other movie trivia Schmoedown competitors and members, both past and present, have spoken out, offering statements of support to the women that have come forward with the allegations. The entire production team of the Ultimate Schmoedown Aftershow offers its support to these brave and strong women. We believe them and we support them. Today's show will be dedicated to reflecting and responding to the situation at hand, commenting on what has been alleged and what has been confirmed. We ask that all watching the show live or on replay in the future, please be civil, be kind, and be respectful. Thank you again for tuning in today. With that being said, I'm going to now step back into the waiting room. Sean and I will be monitoring the chat throughout the show, and John and Soul are going to take over the reins going forward.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, it's two of us today. As Mike mentioned, not going to be much of a panel discussion, as we often do, but more Soul and I talking about this issue and kind of being open with y'all about the discussions we have been having personally since this situation first came to light. Obviously, there has been a lot of news about the Schmoedown itself that we have no plans to discuss, largely because in our discussions, we did not feel excited by anything. We did not feel that anything outweighed the importance of this discussion, nor its implications about the league as a whole. We are going to be talking both about the person in question and also the league as a whole. So prepare yourselves for what is going to be a very uncomfortable discussion about something that we are all ostensibly fans of. I don't know, so if you feel like you have any other disclaimers you want to add. If not, I can.
Thank you. I think you did a good wrap up of what's going to be discussed today.
Fair enough. Forgive me as well. I'm going to be, by and large, reading off a lot of what I discussed today because I've had a fair amount of time to think about it and reflect on it to the best of my abilities. I'm, of course, only one person, but I've been very moved by a lot of what other folks have been coming forward and offering and putting out there. And it's given me a lot to reflect on. And this statement is what I have come to personally. First of all, in talking about this issue, I don't want to spend too much time relitigating the allegations against Ben Goddard, partially because he is no longer a part of the Schmoedown, but largely because the first person who was brave enough to come forward with their allegations made their intent very explicitly clear. They did not come forward with their allegations to cancel Ben Goddard, whatever that word means these days, but to instead ensure that other young women of the Schmoedown would not be manipulated or hurt in the same way that she allegedly was, and that other women who may have experienced similar treatment would know that they were not alone. And lo and behold, other women have since come forward. There have certainly been various folks harassing these women since they've come forward. And then other folks that have stepped forward used misogynistic language and bad faith arguments to remain willfully ignorant on understanding this situation to its full. The differences between something being legal and something being right. Between a consensual relationship and a relationship that allegedly was built solely on anger, coercion, and isolation of women who were fans and then were warped into something else by one man's selfish desires, again, allegedly. And while these allegations from these brave women mean that this person is no longer a part of the Schmoedown and therefore cannot use that particular power that he was given, it does not mean that this issue is dead and buried. There are still many discussions to be had about more concrete ways to address the inherent misogyny that has allowed for these alleged abuses to happen and the contingent of people that are still adamantly defending this abuse. One thing that I've seen online that I also do not wish to contribute to or endorse in any way is the idea that every competitor or community member that hasn't made a statement yet is somehow a complicit supporter of the alleged wrongdoer. That is, I do not think, a helpful way to approach the situation. Some folks may still be in the dark on the situation, as the internet is a large and loud space. Some folks may be under contracts that limit what they can say on this issue, as we've seen some folks formerly under MTS contracts speak on. And some folks may just be searching for the right words. We are in a very different position than a lot of folks in the Schmoedown community. We did not ever know Ben Goddard personally. Many folks did, and many folks considered him a friend and need time to be able to reconcile the image that they had and the image that has now been brought forth to the public eye. It's certainly something I, in my limited capacity to think about and talk about the situation, have struggled to put into words just for this episode alone. I think playing into that mindset of blaming as many individuals as possible only stokes the fires of division and doesn't address the systemic issue at play. The responses that really matter are the ones that come from the league itself and how they plan to move forward from this. And unfortunately, within their two statements, I, in my personal subjective opinion, have found them both lacking. It is imperative that I stress that I do not know the hearts and minds of Christian, Mark, and the many other folks behind the scenes at both the Schmoedown and Skybound at large. However, as these two Twitter statements are what they have given us on the situation, I, as somebody that talks about the Schmoedown, have to talk about them at face value. The first statement, as Sol brought to my attention earlier, used a bit of odd language that I was not comfortable with. Within their statement, they wrote, quote, "Skybound is proud to promote a culture that encompasses diversity, inclusion, and equality across the entire company, and we treat any allegations to the contrary very seriously." Which, while that is a nice thing to say, does not really directly address the situation at hand. And the thing that specifically made me uncomfortable was the conflation of these reports, these allegations of sexual misconduct, with general ideas of diversity, inclusion, and equality, which, again, speaking on the often divisive and angry nature of the internet, seem to feed into a narrative that we have seen all too frequently, which is that when issues of any social, political nature come up, the dialogue very quickly becomes one about two polarized sides of being woke or anti-woke, politically correct or anti-political correctness. A discourse that is often not helpful, that is a lot of folks repeating the same phrases over and over, ultimately leading to no real change. And my fear with this statement is that the Schmoedown was initially largely concerned with projecting an image of just being generally woke and positive without addressing very specific, awful situations at play. The second statement delved slightly more into these allegations, but also, very worryingly to me, felt a lot like an attempt to return to normalcy as quickly as possible, with a lot of language more about the future of just the Schmoedown versus the future of how they will handle these situations. If you read it, you see a lot of references to preparing for season 9 of the Schmoedown, how excited they are for the matches and storylines, and how excited they are to have fun again. I get wanting to have fun. I love having fun. This situation is not fun. And even sometimes when something is fun, when a serious issue comes to light, it is important to treat that seriously. And while I understand that the timing of this happening right before the launch of season 9 is nobody's favorite, it does not lessen the importance of having this discussion further. Additionally, my fear is that these two statements have been released on Twitter only. There's been no real mention of this situation on the official Movie Trivia Schmoedown Facebook page, on their Instagram page, on their TikTok page, and certainly not on their YouTube channel. There have been plenty of discussions about it in the Reddit. I've seen one post in the Facebook group that talks about it. But again, considering that there is only so much that we have as fans, as viewers to go off of, my fear is that the approach right now of the Schmoedown is to very quickly try and write this off as Twitter drama only, keeping it solely locked to where this situation has happened, addressing it on that platform, and trying to move past it as quickly as possible, which, in my, again, subjective personal opinion, is rather disingenuous. They have made another announcement since then in the Facebook group about a PR firm that is being introduced this year, wherein aftershows would have to reach out to them in order to have Schmoedown competitors on their shows. And I believe Christian has specified specifically in a comment, yes, if your show isn't about Schmoedown, then of course you don't have to go through the publicist. MTS questions just wouldn't be able to be answered during that interview. Anything MTS related has to be run through the publicity firm. This is a statement that came out yesterday in light of everything. So it seems, again, based on what limited knowledge we have, to be very specifically related. I have been thinking about that as long as I can, along with everything else. I've found that I don't mind it. I think that there is some value in trying to make sure that there are fewer blurred lines between the talent and the audience, that being a central issue to these allegations we are discussing currently. It also feels a bit like trying to reclose Pandora's box. These nebulous gray lines that have been drawn between fans and talent in the space have been there for a minute. They've existed in multiple different ways, whether that be the interaction between fans and competitors online, at live events, the Patreon, fans directly contributing money, and after shows like this. That has been one of the things I have had to think about the most, is my role in helping to stoke these sorts of parasocial relationships, how often I myself have fallen into the trap, and what that means for me in the future. We have our own category in the Schmoedown Awards, us after shows. We are something that have been planted as a cornerstone, and it is largely just us fans who don't have necessarily broadcasting or journalism degrees doing our best to just talk with competitors. The fan element of this is something that is often very sweet, but is also something that comes with irreparable damage at times. And now comes the uncomfortable part where we have to re-examine this. In doing my thinking and my research for this, I've seen a few suggestions about ways that we can move forward that I think would be quite valuable. The introduction of a community manager to help monitor more of the MTS social spaces is something I saw specifically on the Reddit. A focus on female voices in the Schmoedown, implementing procedural and cultural changes at the leadership level based on their experiences of facing sexism in this space. Because again, we have seen at least one notable figure, Taylor Robinson, speak very openly about her experience as a woman in this space. Perhaps an outside investigation of the Schmoedown from some outside party that can speak to everybody privately and confidentially in order to get their honest takes and stories. I think there needs to be more transparency and specificity when discussing this issue, because it is very specific and not something that can be tossed into a general banner of things that we generally care about. I know that it's not as fun as a manager announcement for season 9. I know that. I know that it is something that is difficult to work into the scheduling. I know it's not a fun conversation to have because I'm having it right now and it fucking sucks. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be doing this today. But it is too important of an issue to not speak about it directly and at full volume. It is also important for me to note that while I am discussing my discomfort with these statements by the Schmoedown, their statements are not mine to accept. That is up to the victims that have come forward and to those who have not, to see if they feel comfortable moving forward with this. That is up to them, not up to me. But it would seem to me that the Schmoedown still has a lot of work to do and a lot more they could be doing to show their commitment. Again, I am not a professional broadcaster or journalist or human resources director. I am just a fan with a microphone and a web camera who submitted an audition tape to a competitor he liked, and now I'm here. I have been given a platform, however small or large, in this space because I was a fan of it, and I'm coming out of this week feeling like anything but. And I want to see more about what is actually going to be happening moving forward before I can feel comfortable moving forward myself. And that is what I have to say at the moment. Soul.
And thank you, John. Unlike John, I don't have a prepared statement. I wanted to come in speaking just emotionally and where I've been feeling these past weeks, and there's been a lot of ups and downs of just feelings about this whole situation. First, I want to address to all the women who have come forward. You guys are so fucking brave. Like, I admire you guys so much. I know for myself included and other women who I've been talking to behind the scenes that reading their stories have been triggering because unfortunately too many women have experienced similar things or worse things than this, and having to read that something that they're such a big fan of also has created a space or has kind of given a space where something like this can happen, is very disheartening. Um, so that I wanted to first address that I just have been very, very sad reading these, and I can't even imagine the women who have come forward and those who haven't, what they feel on this situation, because at the end of the day, it's more important about them than about us. Um, Speaking to the Schmoedown's public statements that they've put on Twitter, I was very disappointed in them adding verbiage that had nothing to do with the situation at hand. That verbiage is a good thing and good values to stand by, but it had nothing to do with the situation. And I felt by adding those things, it made what they were trying to put across more disingenuous. But I cannot speak to their hearts and minds at this time. So that is how it was read for me personally. And I hope going forward that they do address this more specifically, because if they don't, there's several people that don't know anything that's going on, and that means leaving it to just the Twitter sphere and then brushing it under the rug in the name of season 9 going forward. I really hope that they are transparent about whatever steps they are going to take to make sure something like this does not happen again. Women competitors and women fans need to feel safe in this space. And a lot of times, as a female fan watching the Schmoedown, seeing comments about women competitors have been appalling. And the fact that these haven't been addressed before by the Schmoedown at large leaves a space for something like this to happen as well. I think too, making jokes on SEN about Ben Goddard should date this woman or date this woman or this created a space for something like this to happen as well. And now at the time where all of us, myself included, were laughing at those SEN and knowing that they were jokes, now you look back at it and it's seen in a different light. I also want to say that I don't think Christian or anyone at the Schmoedown or Skybound meant or wanted something like this to happen or were out to make a space like this. But it is something that I have noticed being a fan, and the fact that these kind of allegations that have come forward kind of breed to a space that has been created. I do also want to address, though, that there are so many wonderful people in this community who have come forward in support, and that is the majority. And that also I am part of a show with such great men here that also feel strongly about the allegations that have been made. And so, with that, I do want to applaud the majority of the Schmoedown community that has been immediately coming forward, going, "We are in support of these women. We believe these women, and we want a change and things better because we all love the Schmoedown. We all love it, and we want it to be at the best that it can be." And I guess those are really mostly my feelings on this. They're still very complicated. I'm still processing it even with this week. I hope that going forward things can be better.
Absolutely. It is, of course, worth noting that obviously at this point, everything we are talking about is as much as we know. For all we know, the Schmoedown could be working on a video or post or something of the like that could come out tomorrow and address a lot of the stuff, in which case, hopefully, that will address everything. It's also possible that they won't, and that we'll be stuck in a loop. And that is, I think, one of the things that we are most worried about. Um, Thank you so much, Sol, for sharing your thoughts. We also, you mentioned that there are a lot of wonderful, supportive people in this scene. And one such person is a woman by the name of Allison. Allison is a contributor, if you don't know, over on Flick and Reel. She hosts a podcast, Behavioral Geekology. She's also now one of the hosts over on Spin from the Reel, who, we have all talked to and known in different capacities over the years. And she has also been very specifically a fierce advocate for women in this space, dating back really as long as I've known her. I have known one thing to be true about her, and that is that she cares very deeply about making sure that this space is the most equitable that it can be. And she, in fact, was kind and generous enough to send us a quick statement that she was willing to share with us that we will now share with you, Mike, if you can bring that up on the screen. As a new member and a new female member of the Schmoedown community, I have appreciated how open and welcoming everyone has been. I've met incredible people along with new friends, but communities are at times not without their flaws. We are all so lucky to be able to have built relationships amongst these personalities, and I'm grateful how many I get to call my friends. Unfortunately, with that, we are at times subjected to harassment and abuse like we have seen play out recently, whether it be from personalities towards fans or fans towards personalities. At the end of the day, we are all humans. Oh, the screen is a little bit odd on my end, so is it?
Yeah. Okay, there it goes.
At times, it appears to be a trend for women in this community to be unfairly ganged up on, whether it be for their gameplay as competitors or having opinions on after shows, to being groomed and manipulated as we have seen in recent events, for legal reasons we have to say allegedly here. We have seen female competitors, personalities, and fans retire and walk away multiple times because of these things. I have wanted to walk away myself due to it. And then we'll give it a moment. I hope conversations like the ones all these amazing women are having today will help bring to light change for the better. I know I speak for myself when I say finding this community has been one of the best things in my life. I hope to continue to see strong, powerful female voices be lifted up within this community. I hope that from recent events and past mistakes, we're able to grow, learn, and change as a community, because the safety of the personalities and fans should continue to be of the utmost importance. To those who have spoken up publicly or privately about mistreatment in any way, I hope you continue to use your voice for change. For those who suffer privately, please know there are many of us here that support you and will be here for you no matter what. And again, thank you so much, Allison, for that statement. And And again, something that she's brought up that we touched on briefly is not only the bravery of the women that have come forward, but the grace as well. These are women that really believe in this show, this community, and want it to be the best that it can be. And that is something we want as well. And we don't yet know what that looks like. Especially as a show that started with a couple folks goofing around on their own movie reaction set to something that has become bigger, to something that has become involved with a lot more people, and something that's future is still in flux, which means that there's certainly room for growth, but also room for backpedaling. And we hope to see much more of the former than the latter. But that is one of the main things we have been talking about privately behind the scenes. To that end, I will tell you all right now, as mentioned previously, that is all we are talking about today, is the situation. And we don't know if and when we will feel comfortable talking about the Schmoedown moving forward, or in what capacity, and what our personal futures are. However, we want to thank all of you who watched and who feel as passionately about these issues as we do. There are plenty of good, well-meaning people in this space who deserve the exact same amount of love that they give. And we hope that this space that we inhabit together grows to better reflect that, because at this point it does not. I think that, quite honestly, might be it for us. Soul, I don't know if you feel like you have anything else you'd like to say.
You speak so eloquently, John. Yeah, we will see what future this show will be, dependent upon how these situations are handled.
That's right. And thank you as well to John Roca in the chat. I just want to say how much I respect and honor the bravery and strength of every woman who's come forward or who has experienced this situation. I'm so proud of Sola and John for hosting this episode and to speak so powerfully and about these very important issues. Thank you to Mike Shea and Sean Baratow for producing the show. Proud of you all, and I'm honored to have you on the Outlaw Nation channel. Sincerely thank you for giving us this platform, especially when it pivots away from Schmoedown news and reactions to more heavy subject matter. It is something that we greatly appreciate. Also, Allison in the chat, hello. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
That does, however, mean that we are at the end of this episode. We thank you so much for watching. We hope that this conversation is one that continues after we are no longer live. And we hope that you all stay safe. Have a good rest of your Saturday. Thank you.